Hello again and welcome to the show. As always, I'm your host Jason McNeil and this is Cup of Joe Canada. Today on the show, we're going to discuss public libraries, specifically Toronto public libraries, because I feel it's been an issue of contention for a long time, right? Like every time budget talks come up, there's a section of the society that's like, we need to stop paying money for libraries because they're like book museums. And there's a section that's like, no, they're community hubs, they're the greatest thing on earth ever, and everyone needs them, and we can't cut 1 hour. So I mean, it seems like two different conversations. People are looking at the library different ways, right? So a little bit of just background on the Toronto Public Libraries. Basically, the budget last year was about $190 million. So John Tory's looking for 2.6%. It's the across the board cut, right? We want 2.6% from everybody. So that includes libraries. You're looking at about $6 million that they have to find in savings for the libraries. There's 100 branches in Toronto. You're looking for $6 million in savings if you're going with what John Tory wants to do. Incidentally, the province gives $5.5 million a year to Toronto libraries for operating costs, and I don't see anyone sort of angry about that, right? Everyone's like, well, Toronto needs to raise taxes to pay for libraries, Toronto needs to fund libraries, The Liberal government of Ontario gives less than 2.6% of the budget for the Toronto libraries, and nobody seems to care, right? To me, the whole $6 million issue, that could be solved fairly easily at the provincial level if they sort of were on board with funding public libraries. But somehow I feel like they don't get called to task as much as the Toronto government does. But anyway, 98% of costs, as with most, I guess, things like libraries and arm's length government organizations and government services, is going to be staffing the collection, so the books and the records and everything that they have on file, facilities, so I guess rent and actual like costs of maintenance for the buildings, and IT. So they say there's no wiggle room, we can't cut anything, right? The 190 million, it's just, we can't scale it back anywhere but hours. So that's what it would be hours, right? So I was reading an article in the Toronto Star, really more of a creative writing piece, waxing poetic about what the library is and what the library means. And on this night of the public libraries board meeting, what was going on and how this community hub was bumping and everything else. And I understand, look, there is so much positive that comes out of these services, but I also think that to just act like there's nowhere to look and there's no way to be more efficient, and it's disingenuous, right? So I think we need to meet in the middle somewhere. Anyway, this specific article was written about a visit to Cedar Brae Library, which is at Markham and Lawrence, right? Now, Cedar Brae Library is in between or in the vicinity of two neighborhood improvement areas, right? Which is, I guess they used to be at-risk areas. They're, areas that are underserved as designated by the city, right? So already from the beginning, you're visiting a library that services two underprivileged areas, and that's the library that you're telling me that we're going to discuss about cutting and it is. So I kind of feel like there's an agenda here, right? But anyway, so the proposal was that this library for the savings would have to close on Monday nights. This is a district library because it serves, I guess, a larger swath of the community. So this would close once on Monday nights, and neighborhood libraries would have to close, I believe, 3 nights a week to maintain the budget cuts. Okay, now, again, when I think about how you're choosing to roll the cuts out or propose to deal with the cuts, I worry about what you're really doing. Are you trying to hurt the public so that they get enraged, or are you really genuinely trying to cut 2.6% and not affect service? You know what I mean? So I went to the Toronto Libraries website, and what do you think is the number one concern for people surveyed about libraries? Number one concern, hours and accessibility, right? So, okay, the number one concern, which is hours of operation, that's where we're going to cut because that's the only thing we can do. I don't know if that's necessarily true, right? Okay, second thing is, Second one was workspaces and computer access. So again, this tells me that the use of libraries is changing from what it used to be, right? It used to be more about just the books, and there was like what's now antiquated version of what a library is. Now it is more of a community hub. It's a place for digital media. It's a place where you're going to have, hopefully internet access and access to a whole plethora of different news sources and media types. So I think we need to maybe start looking at it as a different thing. If we're going to try to keep $200 million a year going into libraries, maybe we don't call them libraries. Maybe we call them community hubs. Maybe we put them attached more to community centers and stuff like that. I think there are ways to do this. Now, The end result of the proposal was 55 out of 100 libraries would have to reduce hours. Now, again, I tell you, we're speaking of the library at Cedarbrae, at Markham and Lawrence, which is serving 2 at-risk communities. That's one of the 55 that's going to end up shutting down or closing for some hours. And this gets me thinking now, okay? Because I do believe that not all libraries are created equal. Not all communities are created equal. And I do believe there are certain communities and certain areas in this city where the services provided by a library are far more important than they would be in other areas. And it might be hard to hear for some people, but the truth is there are people that live in areas where you have a lot of resources and you have, like, maybe it's a wealthy community, and maybe the libraries that you can access don't have to be so close. Maybe you can actually, you have more ability to move around the city and go to places. Maybe some people from wealthier neighborhoods should come to Malvern and visit the library there so that we can get this sort of mixed income community feeling going. These are all things that I think, because I do believe what they do when they have to cut is they cut the library at Cedarbrae, or they cut the library at Malvern, because these people are not going to do anything. They can't do anything about it. They have no resources. They're not donating to political campaigns and all that junk. But they can be put in the paper as, hey, look at the victims of this thing. Look what's going on, right? And they are the victims, but they're the victims of both sides of the argument, not just one, right? Because they're really being used as pawns. We're going to close the library in the area that really needs it, because that's the way we get people to get upset, and we get to articles where people start to get enraged and speak out against whatever it is we want them to speak out against. So I wonder how much of that sort of social engineering is going on with this as well. I'm curious to know what you guys think. Like, do you believe we could maybe target services better, library services in the city, and maybe focus them more where they're needed and be more efficient with them? Do you think maybe we just shouldn't have to cut library? Are you one of those that just believes the library needs to be funded across the board? We need better funding and everything. It is weird because in Toronto, like, library use and such, it seems to be going up. It seems like our libraries, unlike everywhere else on earth, right? You go to everywhere else, the library system is dying. And I don't know if that's because they're transitioning and they have more community hubs popping up and stuff, but funding for libraries and use of libraries and just basically libraries in general, they're becoming dinosaurs. Now, if in Toronto we can maintain them and we can use them and we can, they can help our communities, $6 million maybe doesn't sound like that much, right? Coming from the other side of the argument, right? $6 million to have that as something that we can, like a feather in our cap. We have libraries. We maintain libraries. I was thinking about the record collection. It's like 15,000 records, right? Now, my first thought was, we need money. Can we sell the record collection, right, as a way to, we don't have to house it. We don't have to store it. We can save space. We can save money on rent, maybe move to smaller properties. But I don't even know if we could do that. I think there's people that will be genuinely pissed that we're giving up this history, this tradition, this whatever, right? So again, I don't know. I think there's good arguments to be made all across the board, and I'm very curious to know how you guys think. Because at the end of the day, it's a $200 million file out of a $10 billion budget, and the cut or not cut is, again, we're getting even smaller to $5-6 million. I feel like there's a lot of attention paid to this issue, and I kind of feel like we should just get a solid answer, start to maybe modernize and move forward, and it shouldn't. We shouldn't be arguing about it over and over and over, especially not from the perspective of like one person that thinks it's a book library, a book museum, and another person that thinks it's the most essential thing that we have on earth. We have to look at it, I think, more realistically. What is a library to you? What does it mean? What is it? What should it cost? I'd love to know what you guys think. As always, I'm Jason McNeil. You can hit me up on the website. You can email me, averagejoe@cupofjoecanada.com, or you can hit me on Twitter at cupofjoecanada.